Hey everyone, Jason McMaster, Dangerous Toys here to talk about the new unreleased demos album that's coming out on Cleopatra and the artwork done by Claudio Bergamin. And first off, a little bit about the album. The album is a collection of rejected songs from the label that was written and recorded on 4-track and 8-track recorders in a room in South Austin, and some of it was recorded in a proper studio. I think 2 or 3 of the songs that are going to be on the record were actually recorded in a studio, but needless to say, still they were rejected by the label. This all would have been like early 90s, between 90 and 93 probably. All rejects from the label. The record is called Demolition. The Clown, Bill Z-Bub, named by the original artist Tommy Pons and created by Tommy Pons and myself very early on. Bill Z-Bub has been there for us. We do not hide behind him. He's just fun to look at and everybody loves him. So here's the deal is this album cover for Demolition, getting down to the description of what we wanted Claudio to start on, we had to come up with something that fit the timing and fit exactly what we were trying to do with Cleopatra and the idea of releasing these rejected songs. So it depicts the clown Bill Z-Bub with a giant hammer. That goes way, way, way back. Giant cassette tape. Because of the timeline, it was pre-digital age. These songs were written on analog, recorded on tiny recording machines, somewhat crude by today's standards of recording and what microphones were used and the way it was recorded and where it was recorded. And we were sending cassette copies of the songs to management. In turn, they would copy those and send them to the label, and then the label would reject them. I think we wrote like 80 songs or something. Over 60% of them were rejected. So the idea of the clown creating this inertia, this kinetic energy, we wanted it to show in the drawing. When you look at the drawing, you can see how there is movement. There's movement in the clown. The hammer, the velocity of the hammer could equal in weight maybe more than the clown in, we're talking physics here, would actually weigh himself. That was really on Claudio to be able to draw that and bring that out in the drawing. The idea, I feel like, is strong to Demolition, the title, because he's crushing, this tape. It's a demolition. When you think about demolition, you're destroying something. Well, the clown is not representing the label destroying or saying, no, these are terrible, keep writing, you guys suck. It's not necessarily putting words in anybody's mouth. It's basically just saying these songs were rejected. They never surfaced until now. Getting with Claudio and describing this idea to him. Between the two of us, we came up with this idea. And originally, the background Claudio came up with was blue. He came up with an option for yellow in the background, so the logo would pop out. There were versions where the logo was a different color other than the classic red. And we have done merchandise with a green logo in the past, and it's a fan favorite. Fans liked the green Dangerous Toys logo, but I have to say, before the band had any control over the artwork was pretty much turned in and decided what color schemes were going to be used, with the band not even knowing anything about that. So anyway, the classic red logo was a must. And I think that this is a good illustration depicting action and movement, as well as it totally fits the title of this record and the theme and the fact that these songs were rejected. The label didn't like them. We were writing so many kinds of different songs. Some were bluesier than others, some were darker than others, etc. But this cover and just everything about this idea finally coming to fruition with songs that fans have never ever heard. I hope you enjoyed this step-by-step illustration video done by Claudio Bergamin.
Hi, this is Claudio, and on this video I'm going to walk you through the process of drawing a caricature from scratch, from the basic black and white initial sketch all the way through the final full-fleshed color illustration, or digital painting, if you will. So this was commissioned by Dangerous Toys, a classic 80s band, specifically by my good friend Jason McMaster, with whom over the course of several years I've developed a productive artistic and professional collaboration, which I would also like to call it a good friendship. We are sort of pen pals because, well, he's in Texas and I am in California. So for this illustration, we discussed a lot what the illustration should show, what it was about. And this album is a collection of old demos that were never released. Some of them even precede the first album. For this illustration, I started with the face. I started with the eyes, as you just saw, and started drawing around it and just building up, creating the character around the face. I don't usually do that. Sometimes, most of the time when I work with a human figure, I just do a structure. I start with a structure illustration in which I do circles and rectangles to start forming the human body with correct proportions. But since it's not a realistic character, it's a caricature or more of a cartoonish character, there's no need for correct proportions, right? This character is totally wacky. I just felt the freedom to draw it that way. Just feel it as I go along drawing, as you will see doing this time lapse. One thing you'll see me doing a lot on this video is erasing and repositioning. And since this is an organic process, I change my mind a lot about proportions, position, composition. As you see now, while I'm drawing, I'm selecting and repositioning. See, I just did it with the hands. I just increased the size. So I do that a lot. It's an organic process, always moving, always reconsidering and repositioning and resizing. So I'm drawing the mallet now, and between every stroke of the pen, I'm moving it and deforming it, making everything possible to get the best for the illustration as far as movement, proportions, and perspective. So the mallet, as you see, is constantly changing and repositioning. Same goes for the body and the limbs. So right now I'm adding the boots. Actually, I used photographic reference that I took of myself trying to mimic the clown's pose, which I'm not going to show you here because it's kind of embarrassing. But I did use myself as reference for the hands and the boots. I just copied them. I had it right next to the drawing, so I was looking at it the whole time. I just edited it out because it would be too distracting and also would block the drawing. And same goes for this cassette that you're seeing me draw right now. It's a real cassette that I photographed. And then I just imagine how it would look if it was split in half. The tape, of course, it's drawn by imagination, which is not really hard to do. But the rest, I'm just sketching as I go. Basically improvising whatever is not on the photo reference. I use some reference like for arms and legs and the cassette, but the rest is just drawn from imagination. So a minute ago you saw me drawing the impact lines or the impact burst, which is the point of collision between the hammer and the cassette. I'm starting to draw right now the object movement path, or in comic book it's called motion lines, which is an essential tool of comic book narrative, but I abandoned it and instead I did those little speed lines that you can see at the top of the hammer. This part of the technique should be interesting for all you designers and illustrators out there. When it comes to time to add color, I separate the characters in flat colors, like the costume had one color, the hair has another flat color, And then I use the magic wand to just select that color and stay within the edges very easily. I don't have to make the selection manually every time. I just select the color and then I can draw on top of that. Whenever I do this kind of illustrations, I would guess the most hard consideration is the direction of the light, especially if you don't have photo reference. And if it's a character, is a fantasy character or a cartoonish character, it's even harder because you have to kind of guess, shape of the character, and for that, and then after that you have to decide where the shadows and where the highlights go. And this is what I'm doing right now, where the highlights of the hair go and the shape and volume of the face to give it a real three-dimensional look. For this character, I've seen several iterations of it, several versions done over the years, some of them done by the original artist. And they're very inconsistent. I mean, I guess the character evolved. It didn't stay as he was presented in the original 2 album covers, which are to me, are the quintessential version of this character. To me, that's the template. So that's what I wanted to do because those are the albums that made an impact on me when I was a teenager. The first album and then the second one, which present more or less the same character. So that's the one I was basing this illustration on. I wanted to keep the shape of the face and pretty much its physical complexion. He's very skinny, almost emaciated, unnaturally skinny. So that's what I wanted to do. I just added the cowboy boots out of fun because you don't see his feet on the original 2 album covers. So I figured, well, he's from Texas, so he must be wearing cowboy boots. It's as simple as that. Right now, I'm refining the face and figuring out the shape. As you can see, it's not all drawing when you draw in Photoshop. Sometimes you just select shapes and move them around, and that's something you cannot do on a physical drawing on a piece of paper or a canvas. If you change your mind, you have to cover what you already painted, which could be a pain in the ass and time consuming. But with the wonder of digital illustration, you can just select things and move them around and change. If you change your mind, you can change your mind 10 times and it doesn't matter. You just move them around at will to achieve the best result possible, which is also very convenient when you deal with clients because you have revisions, and revisions can be a pain in the ass if you're working physically. So for a commercial artwork, which is what I do, digital drawing is the most convenient and practical way to go. Regarding Bill Z. Bob, the clown character, I didn't feel the need to make it mine and to make my own version of the character because I like the original very much. There's no need to do a different version to the point where fans will not going to be able to recognize it. I wanted fans to see it and immediately get transported to that particular era, like the late 80s, early 90s. So right now what I'm doing is refining the hair and just drawing little hairs one by one. This is sped up about 15 times at least. This took hours and hours. I don't remember exactly how many hours. It was probably about maybe 15 hours of work, maybe a little less. I'm not sure. But it was like 2 full days. I didn't work for 2 full days straight. I worked, 3 hours one day, 4 hours the next. So all in all combined, I would say it was about 15 hours. Still refining the hair, making it wacky and very glammy. This clown, I must say, for a crazy clown, he has crazy hair too. So he has kind of a glam look to him, except for that curl and at the top of his forehead. So, like I was saying, I didn't feel the need to make it mine and do a different version. I figured my drawing style would do that by default, meaning Just the fact that I am drawing it will give it a certain style that would separate it from the original version. So, and that's effortless. That's just me. If you look at the original drawings, the nose of the clown is obviously a fake nose, like, you know, a real clown would, something a real clown would wear. But I figure, you know, this character is not wearing a costume. That's the way he is in real life. He's an evil clown from hell, or a space clown. I don't know. So this is not a costume. This is the way he looks naturally. So the red nose is not a prop, and it's not prosthetics. That's his real nose. So I figured I would give it a more realistic look. I would say that might be my only license, the only license I took, which I tried to make him look realistic, if that's possible with a cartoon, in which I tried to convey the fact that it's not wearing a costume. That's his real appearance. You can see now that I'm drawing the iron rings of the mallet. You know, researching for this, I found out that the classic cartoon wooden mallet does not have a specific single historical origin. Just early MGM and Warner Brothers animators would have, you know, the characters produce various items magically from behind their backs, including mallets and all kinds of weapons for humorous effect. So there you go. Now we're moving on to the cassette. Flat color to start, and just to avoid doing manual selection every time, because that's time consuming. So if you want to save time, just do layers with flat colors, and then you select them automatically and you paint on top. And for this one, I use a very famous model or brand type of cassette made by Sony in the mid-'80s, which had a red and white label in it, which you're gonna see me draw in a minute. That's what I'm doing now, doing the label with selections. Another selection, see? Nice little rectangular selections too. And right now the colors are bright and shiny, not realistic, so I have to give them, you know, shadows and the right gamma to match the lighting of the illustration. Right now I'm refining the cassette, drawing detail here and there, refining shadows, refining highlights. The original idea for this, Jason's idea, was that the clown would be smashing a pile of cassettes. But I thought, one, that will be very time consuming, drawing 1 million cassettes, and it would be kind of messy, and I don't know. I like illustrations that when you look at them on a thumbnail on a very small scale on your phone, you know exactly what they are. So I imagine it would be even more fun to have just one big oversized cassette split in two, easily recognizable, even if you see it on a small thumbnail on Spotify, as opposed to a pile of cassette, which it would look like a giant noise, you know, that you have to zoom in to figure out what it is. Now, this is the fun part, where you start refining the character. You know, I would say the most stressful part to me is sketch out, because I have to do something out of nothing, out of thin air, you know, from scratch. And that's it's time consuming. It's believe me, it doesn't come easy to me. Sketching and figure it out, composition and drawing shapes is hard for me as anybody else. I just work a lot on it. And so when I have my piece already sketched out, it's a huge relief, and I just have to just paint on top. And that's the fun part, refining it and decorating it with all kinds of cool features, which is what I'm doing right now, doing shadows, highlight, and wrinkles on his clothing. Jason sent me the reference for the boots. I guess this is a style, the boots that he likes a lot. Well, right now what I'm doing is refining, adding detail to the hands and wrist ornaments, which are called, by the way, ruffled cuff. The origin, I think, is the 16th century. It was a fashion statement of nobility. You know, wealthy people used to add this kind of ornaments to their clothing, which was called a ruff or ruff collar. Remember that? Just big floaty neck ornaments they used to use in Spain, in the Netherlands, in England. It was basically a large circular plaited collar made of lining or lace. It was a symbol of wealth and status. I think the clowns like, Pierrot and the Harlequin started to use it as a social critique, I guess. So it ended up being like a traditional part and a very important part of the clown attire, this kind of lacy, ruffled collar and ruffled wristbands or cuffs. So I went to the internet and had a look to an extensive collection of pictorial portraits of the Renaissance to, have a good idea of what the quintessential ruffled cuff ornament looks like, to make my own cartoonish version or caricature version, if you will. Right now, what I'm doing is just adding detail, adding more information to what I already have. Like I said before, the basic black and white sketch pretty much defines where light and shadow go. So since that's decided early in the process, it's just a matter of adding more volume, more detail, more information to that light direction, which is what I'm doing right now. And sometimes I could get entrapped on that for hours at my expense. But hey, anything for a good illustration, right? Just adding more detail, refining the hands and the ruffled cuffs. Right now, what I'm doing is just repositioning some parts of the drawing. Like you see right now, I wasn't happy with the arms and the position and the perspective. So I'm just playing around, repositioning until I'm happy with it, until, everything looks good. Yeah, it's just a matter of moving things around. This is the part where Photoshop becomes very, very practical, very convenient, I should say, because once you have a good drawing, you can reposition things to get the best of it in terms of dimensions, proportions, position. So I just grab the forearms and the hands and reposition them to, a better pose, to achieve a better pose. And of course, when you cut things and move them around, sometimes you're missing little pieces here and there where there was nothing. I mean, so right now what I'm doing is just really completing the handle of that giant hammer, right? Just painting over, drawing what's missing, right? And right now he has a giant left butt cheek, which I'm sure I'm going to fix in a minute. One of the things I had to figure it out for this character was I don't have an original copy of any of those two early Dangerous Toys album. So I wasn't exactly sure of the color palette because scans on the internet were all over the place. In some scans, the clothing of the clown looked blue, and some others look kind of purplish. So I have to ask Jason. I had to ask him, hey, I'm not entirely sure what is the color palette. So he gave me a few references. Oh, look, his hair is this color, and then his overall is this color, and so because, like I said, all of those images that you might find on the internet if you Google Dangerous Toys are actual scans of either the CD or the vinyl. So these are scans done by different computers, different software, different color profiles. So you get a wide array of chromatic inconsistency. So you have to, unless you have an actual physical copy, you cannot be sure what are the actual colors, the right chromatic values. So as you can see, I keep selecting and cutting, cropping and repositioning and erasing parts, erasing segments of the drawing that I don't need anymore. which, as you can see, is exactly what I'm doing right now, refining the shape of the hand and the legs. I think the illustration at this point, it's pretty much completed. It's just missing the big comic book sound effects, like the impact burst of the hammer hitting, smashing, bursting into the cassette. There's a whole graphic library in comic books to do sound effects for explosions and impacts and bursts and punches. The written sound effects are called onomatopoeia. But the graphic representation of that sound, it's called impact burst or starburst or just simply burst. And you will see me starting to draw one of those bursts in a minute. So right now I keep working on the details of its clothing, the outline of his limbs and all of that, drawing all the little folds and creases of his clown jumpsuit, drawing the various forms that fabric takes when it bunches, stretches, or bends is an art by itself within the comic book art world. There are some artists that are really good at it, drawing folds and creases in the clothing, in pants and in shirts. And I must say, I mean, it's hard, that's for sure. So the guys that are good at it, they're really good. I mean, they can really fold their fabrics and just work the light around them to make it look absolutely fantastic. So that's what I'm doing right now, refining the little shapes and creases in our character. This is what I call the fun part. This is the part that I enjoy the most. Like I said, I still get a little bit stressed out when I'm just sketching out and deciding how my character is going to look like. But once that is done, I just have fun with it, feeling it out. The same kind of fun you have when you do a coloring book, because the drawing is already done. You know, well, this is the same thing. When the drawing is done, I can move on from that. I can have fun with the illustration. You know, from this point on to the completion of the drawing, is just a matter of refining and creating highlights and shadows and just adding more detail to our character, like I'm doing now in the wrinkles of the leg. And I think it was at this point that I sent a project update to Jason. So I sent him a progress preview of how the drawing was looking at this point, and he suggested to add spurs to the boots, because I was going to leave them like that, just pair of boots, because that's the way I wear them every now and then. Which, in case you might not know, it's a tool of the equestrian world for the rider to communicate with the horse with subtle movements or subtle signals to make him go in a certain direction or do a trick. It's an equestrian tool that they wear around the boot. It has a little star-shaped rotating wheel in the back, which is used to basically tickle the horse. I didn't know exactly how they look, so I had to go to the internet and kind of educate myself on the design of spurs. So, which is part of the artist's job. So right now I'm drawing a spur, drawing the metal part, trying to give it a nice vintagey, rugged look. Now working on the strap, the leather strap that goes, across the top of the boot. It's coming out really well. Look at those sun highlights. And in a second, you're going to see one of the oldest tricks in Photoshop. To avoid drawing something twice, you just select it, copy it, and paste it in a different part of the drawing. It will save you valuable minutes. I grabbed the left spur and placed it on the right boot, which I'm now refining and adding highlights because it's in a different position. So the sunlight should bounce from it in a different way. So as I mentioned before, what you see me drawing now under the mallet is an impact burst. Explosion graphics, mainly from comic books. And these are star-shaped that are drawn around our impact. And this is what I'm doing now between the mallet and the cassette. Also drawing little particles, small pieces of plastic flying from the point of impact. Keep drawing particles around the burst, the impact burst. And what you see there on the left of the screen is my photo reference to replicate a Sony cassette from the mid-80s. Trying to replicate everything from the logo to the model type and all the information that usually comes on a blank cassette label. Right now I'm drawing the handwritten label, which everybody, I guess all of you guys did back in the day, labeling your own cassettes with your own handwriting. What I'm doing right now is drawing the trajectory blur of the mallet hitting a high velocity or cassette. I think this is it. Drawing the polka dots, the last touches in our clown, Bill Z Bob. And I think this is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this video, and do not forget to subscribe to my channel. I will post more of this in the future. So that's it for me, boys and girls. Tune in next time. Bye-bye now.